Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big, butch, manly pop culture podcast that has taught you to love chickens, to love their flesh, their voice. I'm Shane Hollon.
And I'm Andrew Wheeler.
We love chicken here. I love chicken flesh. To mark the Winter Olympics, we're revisiting a movie that boasts a smorgasbord of winter events, including skiing, curling, ice skating, bobsleigh, snowboarding, also bullfighting and stock car racing, which are not part of the regular program as far as I can remember. Today, we're talking about 1969's On Her Majesty's Secret Service. It was directed by Peter R. Hunt and stars Telly Savalas, Ilsa Steffet, Bernard Lee, Lois Maxwell, Desmond Llewellyn, Dame Diana Rigg as Teresa Di Vincenzo, and introducing George Lazenby in his single and singular outing as Agent 007. James Bond must stop Blofeld from unleashing global devastation in the form of a virus carried by beautiful women. Along the way, he falls in love with the Contessa Teresa Di Vincenzo. Andrew, tell me about your love for this film.
First of all, I must say, if anyone's going to put stock car racing in the Winter Olympics, it is the Italians. So I am slightly disappointed that they didn't follow through on them. So how exciting would that be?
That would make the
Now,
game
this
brilliant.
is just slip sliding around on the ice in a stock car.
Right behind a
Beautiful.
bunch of skaters.
Yeah, motivate them. So this is popularly considered one of the worst Bond films, and it was also one of the ones that I think my elder brother, my only brother, was very fond of. He would quote it all the time. He would say, the beluga caviar north of the Caspian was one of his favorite things to just say, muttering around the house.
I like it.
So I've always found a lot to love in it. I think I was just exposed to this film a lot via my brother. And didn't know to sort of scowl at it until later in life. And then I went through my phase of being like, oh yeah, this is a bad Bond film. And then I came back around to having my own mind again and thinking, no, actually, this is a great Bond film.
Yeah.
Just because it has the only Bond to only make one movie, he's not the best Bond, but he's not a bad Bond. In fact, I would say he's a very, very good Bond. And I would love to have seen him do more movies. So, yeah, put me down as a fan of this film.
Amen. This has become maybe my most viewed Bond film. I think it is edging up on Thunderball as the film I've seen the most.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's possibly the greatest Bond film with the worst reputation. I mean, it's got great locations. It has great stunts. It's quite a unique Bond film. And it has exceptional performances from Diana Rigg. And I'm going to say it, George Lazenby, I think he's great in this film. I think he's maligned because of the time that this came out. He was seen as hippie by the production, and they really smeared his name. He's a model. Like that, it's undeniable that like he had no acting experience. But I think he holds his own.
Especially when it comes to the physical performance. Like, he's so good in the action scenes. He throws a punch beautifully. There are so many great action scenes in this film. I mean, I think they lean into his physicality in a way that they couldn't do with Sean Connery. I mean, and we're certainly not going to do with Roger Moore. Yeah, it's got great villains. It's got a ridiculous plot. And the script is, I'm realizing more and more, like, every time I watch this film, I appreciate how slutty the script is more each time. And it's like, I've complained about Die Another Day and how every single line is an innuendo. This film, every line is an innuendo, but they do it with class and restraint and no mugging to the camera. But, like, it's honestly shocking how much sex is in this script. It really is a horny film.
So horny. Okay, question for you. When Bond drops his kilt, Ruby exclaims, "It's true!" And we have discussed this before. Is she talking about him having four balls, just like the four gold pheasants on the Bond family crest?
No, she's talking about him not wearing underwear, is what she's saying.
Oh, I get it.
Traditionally, you don't wear underwear with a kilt. So, yeah, she was just exclaiming on a popular
That makes a lot
fact.
more sense than him having 4 balls and her
Chris,
being excited about
he,
it.
he would have to have had extra balls installed. Like, we would know if Bond had 4 balls
No,
usually.
maybe that's just the sign of his virility, and that's what women love about him. I mean, if you saw a man with
Maybe.
4 balls, wouldn't you just go nuts?
I mean, but actually, no.
No. It sounds horrifying.
I've heard of someone having one of their balls get sort of kicked up into their cavity and having a fake synthetic ball
Mhm.
implanted, and then the old ball drops back down, and so they have 3 balls, and they're like, "Well, now I have 3 balls," and apparently it's quite enjoyable. Who knows? Who can
Interesting.
say?
Who
And
can say?
maybe this is one of those stories that everyone knows a friend whom that happened to, and it's not true at all.
Wow, where have we gone? I think we're just gonna move forward. I think one of the things I love about this film is the style. The 1969 style and the quality of the fashion and the decor, it's permeated my consciousness and my entire being, and I consider it the height of fashion. Maybe minus the lacy cravat, although the jury is still out.
I don't know. Yeah, I've sort of come around on the cravat a little bit, and the lace front shirts, all of that gaucheness,
Hmm.
sort of part of it. It is, I think, one of the most glamorous movies that I've ever seen. Just the sheer number of incredible sets, incredible outfits, incredible cars, which, as you know,
Is
I
not
only
your
care
thing.
about cars if they look good. I do not care about what they do.
The cars
They could be
look
paperweights for
great.
all I care.
I love
Cars are gorgeous.
the Aston Martin in this particular film. It is a new Aston Martin for James Bond, and it is a beautiful, sleek, loud machine. But every other vehicle is also top notch.
Do you know what it is Tracy drives?
I want to
Because her
say,
car is beautiful.
is it a? It's not a Mustang, is it? No, that can't be right. I can't remember.
Okay, great. We'll fact check that or not. Who
I mean,
knows?
I can look it up now.
Some other takeaways, just generally, before we get into the specifics. This movie, there are ads for a bunch of things that were available in Switzerland in the 1960s. One of them is Toblerone rum, a rum and raisin Toblerone chocolate bar. I love Toblerone and I love rum and raisin. And you can get a raisin Toblerone these days, but you can't get a rum and raisin Toblerone. I want them to bring back the Toblerone rum because I will be their most loyal customer if they do that.
Look, I can't have the rum
It's,
part, but that sounds incredible.
I mean, I don't think they're alcoholic if you have a rum and raisin
Okay,
chocolate,
sure.
but who
Well,
knows?
it's probably cooked out. Tracy
Yeah,
drives
like
a
kids eat them.
Mercury Cougar, by the way, and she is a cougar of a
Okay.
woman. Well, maybe she's not a
Wow.
cougar, but
She's not a cougar. She was a cougar later in life,
right.
sure.
That's more Game of Thrones.
But here, yeah.
Well, speaking
Also,
of, sorry, go ahead.
well, one other thing to just touch on, I've talked about the plot being outrageous. One of the stupidest things about this movie is the fact that Bond and Blofeld, masquerading as Bray and Beauchamp, are 2 men pretending to be other people who have, in fact, met before and would recognize each other on sight. But because they're both played by different actors than they were previously, it works. Like, you don't think about
It
that
doesn't make
until you
sense.
do think about that. It makes no
Let's be
sense.
very clear. It makes absolutely no sense that these two men do not recognize each other. I mean,
Yeah.
Bond, it could make sense because presumably Blofeld has had a bunch of plastic surgery, but
He's had his earlobes
he's had
chopped
his
off,
earlobes
but
chopped off.
how much does that change your face?
Well, apparently a lot because
A lot.
Telly Savalas is incredibly different than Yul Brenner. No, not Yul Brenner.
He looked quite a lot like Yul Brynner, but he was never Blofeld.
Uh, what's his name?
Was it Pleasance before this?
Donald Pleasance. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, they look very incredibly different. That's a lot of plastic
Yes.
surgery to go from one to the other. Like, did he add height somehow? Did he do the breaking his legs and resetting them surgery
He
to get an
he
extra
fixed
foot?
fixed his eye that was no longer working,
Yes. Yeah,
the one
why
with the
didn't he do that
scar.
in the first place if he could have done that?
I mean, you would think. And then
Exactly.
later he'll become Charles Grey, and that's even more ridiculous. He's not even
Very camp.
bald.
Yeah. Give me the plastic
Oh, but
surgery
I
that
love
makes me more gay.
Impossible.
We don't have enough money or time. Okay, let's talk about the women. I,
I mean, should we start with the woman?
how do we not? She's incredible. Dame Diana as Tracy, because Teresa was a saint, we call her Tracy.
Teresa was a saint.
She's
Yeah.
divine. She's absolutely divine. She is an incredible actor, but also every outfit she wears is more fabulous than the last. She holds her own with a sharp tongue. She can throw a punch. She drives fast cars. She has no problems with no strings attached sexuality. I love that about her.
Yes.
She's smart. She's capable. It's quite rare in this universe.
Yeah. And in this era, yeah, to see a woman so self-possessed and confident and also complex, like she is a troubled woman. We know this from her opening scene.
Mm.
But yeah, she can handle a car chase, she can murder a henchman. The fact that she enjoys no string sex without shame is something I also made a note of because it's so unusual. If she didn't die, she would be perfect. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this 50-year-old, 60-year-old movie.
Yeah, but she's so elegant, she's so gorgeous, and Diana Rigg knows two things. She knows how to act her socks off, and she knows how to lean into a key light, and both of those are fundamental to the character.
Absolutely. I also think I should mention that Moneypenny not only saves Bond's career, but she saves M's heart with the stroke of a pen
Yeah.
in this film. And I always forget that. And I love that about her in this film is that Bond is ready to quit his job and she knows him too well to let him do that. And also she knows too well to let him do that. And they have this wonderful little aside where Bond says, Moneypenny, what would I do without you? And he kisses her on the cheek and leaves. And then M comes on the intercom and he's like, Moneypenny, what would I do without you? Oh, God, it gets me every time.
Yeah, it's we don't get enough Moneypenny in this movie, but it's still a pretty good Moneypenny
Mhm.
movie for what we do get. We get a lot of her personality and her style. And
Yes.
I mean, not to leap ahead into the style section, but Moneypenny's hair in this is maybe my favorite
Great.
Moneypenny do. The
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of up from sort of lopsided thing. I don't
Lopsided
know how to
bob.
describe it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
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 gorgeous.
it's gorgeous and like the texture of it and the color of it. It's just perfect. And again, we're just gonna skip to the fashion really quickly. But what she's wearing in her office, that yellow, white, and black
Yeah.
plaid herringbone. I'm not quite sure what to describe, how to describe
Some sort of check.
some sort of check. It is absolutely a stunner. It is maybe
Yeah.
her best style.
Yes. And she manages to look good at a wedding later on. I mean, that's hard to do,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah.
Even her hat is fabulous.
We also have one of the most compelling bit parts in Bond history in the role of Ruby Bartlett, who I know you have
Ruby Bartlett.
she holds a very special place in your heart, as well as mine.
Yeah, and Angela Scalar as Ruby Bartlett, a phenomenal like character performance. She is a menace and I love her. She is blunt, she is raunchy, she is so northern, and she has that really tight perm
Ooh, yeah, little
just
ringlet.
nesting atop her owlish face. Yeah, she's so unlike any other Bond. Like the fact that we have two Bond women in this movie who are complete exceptions to every Bond woman. She's
Oh yeah.
common as muck. She's extremely like even though she's in this brainwashing cult where she is being programmed to love chickens, to love their voice, to love their taste, their flesh, thank you, their flesh. She still has ample personality. She is such a little mischievous little force. Yeah. Three cheers for Ruby Bartlett.
Three cheers to her. And we would be loath to forget that Dame Joanna Lumley is in this film. and gets one of the greatest lines. Of course, I know what he's allergic to.
So good, so good, so Patsy. I
So
mean,
Patsy.
she's great. Yeah, we should say like this movie has a lot of Bond women in
Hmm.
it. Like there is this whole cavalcade of women at Piz Gloria, the villains' uh, the villains' lair slash health clinic that is one of the great locations. And yeah, they're all being hypnotized to make them get over their food intolerances, but also to make them agents of death in a global plan to spread diseases. It's
It makes
complicated.
sense.
But yeah, it's a very, like, it's a Benetton, people of the world, small world after all kind of collection of women who are dressed in culturally appropriate clothing and eating culturally appropriate foods. It's very dodgy, especially when you get to the African woman eating bananas.
And
I
the
mean, that's just not
Chinese
cool.
woman eating rice. I mean, it's
Yeah, an Indian
crazy
woman eating
racist.
naan bread.
Yeah.
Like, just everyone's eating starch. Just starches all the way, except for Ruby.
Who gets chicken, which is a northern thing, I
Yeah,
guess. Is that racist against white people? I don't know.
I think it's just the most like cheap and plentiful meat in the UK.
Oh, and she
So
is cheap
yeah,
and plentiful, so it does make sense.
she is cheap and plentiful.
Yeah, I don't
And she
think
grew
we
up on a
should
chicken farm.
did grow up on a chicken farm. It's
She
canon.
did.
We shouldn't gloss over the fact about how crazy racist that whole thing is. Like, it is bad.
Sure, yeah.
It's so bad. And every time I
I
see
hope
this
the viewer
movie,
picked up on that.
yeah, it's just like I want to forget about that in this film, and every time it takes me out. And it's just like it's when they lift the lids off the trays and the women just start gobbling on rice and naan and bananas that I'm like, oh my God, this is this is 1969. This is a Bond
This is
film. These
1969.
are English people. Everything is wrong with this.
You just have to acknowledge that there's going to be some racism with your gorgeous poochie dresses and incredible sports cars. That's what the 60s was,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
70s
yeah.
and
And the
on
80s
through.
and the 90s. And
I mean, eventually we got rid of the beautiful dresses and sports cars and just kept the racism.
yeah, exactly. Progress. Yeah. Anyways, let's uh
Hmm.
let's pivot.
Segue.
I don't know how to do that anymore. We've done this for what, 6 years now, and there's just no way to get out of this ever.
So racism is always going to be its own little
Asterisk?
thing.
Yeah, it shouldn't be an asterisk. It should be an exclamation point.
No, no. What? Full stop.
Okay, full stop, and then full start on The Boys. Let's
The
talk.
boys.
Let's talk about George Lazenby.
He is the most Clark Kent of the Bonds,
Mm,
I feel like. Like, there's the sort of. He spends a lot of the movie undercover, for one thing, and pretending to be sort of stuffy and delicate. And so that's all very Clark Kent. But also, he kind of looks like a sort of Clark Kent Superman
yeah,
type.
very much.
As I mentioned up top, his physicality is tremendous. Like when he swings a punch, big swing uppercuts silhouetted against the sea, and it's like, oh my God, that's a man who could throw a punch. But also the physicality translates to just having a stunning physique. I mean, the way that the wet shirt clings to him in his first scene is shockingly gorgeous. Like it just
Yeah.
the fact that you can see all the way through that shirt, and it's just like, oh my God, he is svelte.
Yes.
He is narrow waisted in a way that I didn't think men could be. But certainly
Mm,
not with those shoulders, you know?
right? I
He's not a waif. He's not a 60s waif.
No, and he's also like, and he's not average looking. Like he's got that heavily dimpled chin. Like you could stick your
Yeah.
whole finger in there. And he's got those
Finger, yes.
very Josh O'Connor ears. In fact, I think he looks a
Love.
lot like Josh O'Connor,
You're right, actually. Yeah, he does
right?
there's a strong resemblance.
There's a
Yeah.
very strong resemblance that which explains a lot of my love of Josh O'Connor, to be quite honest. Yeah, he's just like he He's very unique. He's got like super high cheekbones. Like he is a model. There's no denying it. But he also, I mean, and also he is a style icon. Everything he wears is so ahead of its time and but also so
Mm.
of its time. Particularly like I mean, the tweed jacket with the light yellow shirt and pinned scarf, which I'm so failing to represent here is such an incredible look. And the orange turtleneck with a brown, like cup necked blazer, really cool. The kilt is such a statement. And he just wears it all, and it all makes sense on him. Not
Yeah.
many men could pull that off.
Yes, he is a body made for clothes. He is the sort of, sample size man that designers dream of. Sean Connery was a model as well, and
Mhm.
I assume Roger Moore was as well. But I think they were more. I don't think either of them was successful or as prominent as models as Lazenby must have been, because
Right.
they don't have what he has in terms of that sort of elegant physique and presence. They have different strengths
Mhm.
and were much more successful.
Yes. Yeah, that is very true.
But Lazenby is just, yeah, as I said, built for clothes.
He also gets two of my favorite physical Bond moments ever. One is the way he does the gun barrel opening. He drops to his knee and throws his arm back, and it's so
Yeah.
dramatic, and it creates quite the silhouette. And then also when he meets Draco, he twirls into the room and is on his knees and holds the throwing knife up like this. And I think it's just such an iconic image.
Speaking of Draco, he's really the only other boy that I want to talk about in this movie.
Fair.
He is our problematic daddy because he's so cool and elegant and classy and a very handsome man, but he's also just an absolute patriarchal bag of
Chauvinist
trash.
pig. Yeah, absolutely. He's a real scamp.
Scamp?
Yeah,
Yeah, what a scamp.
yeah,
He's a gangster
yeah.
and a sexist.
You scamp. I mean,
Asterisk.
positive. Yeah, exclamation point. Positive plays chess with his mistress, who has a good relationship her
With his
with
daughter.
his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
also
love that relationship.
me too. Right? Very very interesting. They're equals.
In age as well.
And to that point, Draco also thinks his daughter needs to be dominated, which is such a choice of words. Like, I want to like you, Draco, but
Honestly.
crazy.
What she needs is a man to dominate her, to make love to her.
Who talks
The
about their
whole
daughter
thing
like
is him
that?
he's trying to pimp her out. Like, that is his whole angle on this. Seduce my daughter, and I will give you $1 million and tell you where Blofeld is. Wildly indecent. One of the great things in this movie is that Bond's counteroffer is psychiatry. And it's like, okay, so Bond is cool with psychiatry. That's unexpected, honestly.
It's so rare that Bond
He
is the
sees the
progressive
value.
character. It's a nice change.
But also, like, I do love that this movie goes to pains to stress that the proposal is not picked up on, really. Like,
Mm.
Tracy is like, give him the information you promised him without strings attached. And Bond is like, I don't want money for your daughter, and throws the money back at him like 2 or 3 times, I feel like, in the
Yeah.
movie. This is it. They make it very clear that this is not about a woman being bought by a man, even though that is the proposal on the table.
Hmm. Yeah, it's I mean, credit to this film for doing the right thing. I don't know. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah.
I also want to give a little bit of credit to Telly Savalas as Blofeld. He is strikingly handsome with his heavy eyebrows, cue ball head, and rather svelte physique for a Blofeld in particular. And he's a bit of like a heavy hitter too. Like he has kind of a boxer's
Yeah.
swagger about him. So, there's someone for everyone and that you might be into.
Yes. I would say it's not the sexiest Bond movie, but there's some great choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about the music. I think this is one of the great soundtracks of all time. I think the theme song, like the title credit song, is one of my favorite action Bond
Mhm.
themes. And We Have All the Time in the World is an absolutely brilliant song. The way that it comes in as a love theme and leaves us in the finale as this heart-wrenching, like very mentally unstable song of like the just the way that it's fucking with Bond. It's incredible.
And don't forget the other classic, Do You Know How Christmas Trees Are Grown, performed by Nina and a children's choir, written by John Barry and Hal David. What an iconic piece that is.
It is something else. I wrote this soundtrack is almost perfect. One of the most spy genre sounding, save for one song.
I think a man falls to his death to the sounds of Do You Know How Christmas Trees Are Grown,
This is true.
which is just amazing.
Yeah.
It's a really sustained shot as well.
Yeah. Really sustained. Like we see him fall and you hear that
Oh,
song
yeah.
in full.
Imagine that's the last thing you hear as you're plummeting and it's like taking you a minute to die and you're like, Jesus, it's that
I
fucking
would
Nina
just take
song.
the gun at that point. Yeah.
Children's choir? No, I won't go out like this. But you are correct. It is a fabulous score. The way they layer the guitars on the theme, the way they use musical references throughout in this film, but
Yeah.
especially like the scene of Bond packing his attaché case and we hear the little stings of his previous adventures because he is not the other guy. He is the same guy, even though it's complicated. Let it go. Also, the use of Spanish guitar in the Draco scenes, I really love.
Mm.
I don't know Draco's ethnicity, like Italian,
Corsican?
Spanish, Corsican, sure.
It's like
Yeah.
Corsica is Mediterraneana, right? You can be anything.
Yes, yes. So Corsican guitar. Yeah, no, I just really that really stood out to me on this watch. That I'm like, oh, I really like that as like a motif for this guy.
And I also just love like I don't even know. I guess it's electric guitar or maybe it's synth, but anytime Bond is doing like really spy heavy stuff, we get this ding
Mm.
ding 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 kind of motif going on. And it just that to me screams spy. Like that is the sound of someone spying, and I think it comes out of this film, or at least up in here it does.
Yeah, there's a lot of great tension music and action music. Like it's absolutely doing everything you want a spy movie, an action movie to do.
Speaking of everything we want it to do, let's talk about the fashion.
So much to say.
Honestly, we could go for another hour,
I don't want to go for another hour, Shane, but yeah,
but
it
we
could
have
happen.
to. And we're starting off with his and hers terry cloth robes.
Shorty robes.
Shorty terry cloth.
Love it.
So cute. I love that she wears it to bed and he wears it to breakfast.
It's the most incredibly stylish
Hmm.
film. Dame Diana Rigg arriving at the casino, entering the room purse first, boob second, eyes striking the key light. Every woman is wearing a bun because it seems to be the fashion at the time, but Diana's bun is better than everyone else's, more regal, more
So
crown-like. I mean, that's just an incredible, like, even though it's not her introduction scene, it's an incredible introduction scene when she arrives at the casino. The hotel slash casino is so
oh
gorgeous.
my God,
Purple flock wallpaper,
the wallpaper.
these gorgeous balconies, and this is just my dream, my architectural dream, because there are peacock chairs and there are room dividers and all these things all throughout the movie. Every location they go to, even the lawyer's office, is like,
Yeah.
maybe that's how I should do my house. A thing I will never get to do.
Didn't even mention the outdoor bed. I think should be a staple of every hotel. You have a bed for indoors
Honestly,
and a bed for outdoors.
yes. What a perfect arrangement if you have several hypnotized women trying to seduce you at the same time.
That's right. Uh, Ruby's apartment at Peace Gloria and the overhead multicolored lamp in the very Star Trek 60s colors. I feel like
Very.
every gay has that multicolored light going on in their home now. It's a staple of everyone's apartment.
It's
So
true.
this is a
That's
real trend-setting film.
do those what are they called? Nanolights?
Nanoleaf?
Nanoleaf?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if you plug those in, do you hear a voice saying, "Love chickens, their flesh, their voice"?
I mean,
Because it would explain a lot about the gay scene in Toronto, honestly.
I do have a chicken head. Yeah, yeah.
We love chicken.
Give me all the chicken. Every outfit at the bullfight is brilliant. And I'm not just talking about our main characters. You scan the background of all of those people, everyone is wearing something that is to die for. And same with every woman's outfit at Peace Gloria. The
Yes.
not just indoors, but their outdoor wear, incredible. And so fashionable that you could easily take it out of this film and wear it today, and no one would bat an eye, except they would because they'd be like, "Am I seeing this incredible beauty?"
Yeah. For Tracy to have the gall and the gumption to go to a bullfight dressed as a bullfighter and make it look like the height of fashion,
Oh my gosh.
and to accessorize her outfit with a horsewhip. I mean, it's like a long list of fashion no's that absolutely is a fashion yes. It's
Yeah,
one of my favorite outfits I've ever seen on screen.
yeah. Break enough rules and you are the rule. Yeah,
Yeah.
that wide banded red belt is so cool. And the bolero hat is just it's so stunning. It's the oh god, I there's nothing I can say about it that hasn't been said. It's absolutely perfect. I also even like Bond's looks are all fantastic from his like straight black and white tuxedo to the kilt, as I said, and the tweed suit. But I also love the blue ski suit. It
Mm,
it feels like very of the time, but I also feel like
nylon, baby.
it's nylon. It feels so fashionable. Uh, I'm not sure who designed it, but it's so form fitting and looks amazing.
Yeah. And we get Tracy in incredible, like, I mean, all of her ski looks,
Mm.
some of which she whips up herself in a barn,
Yeah.
are great. But her skating look, the sort of, I guess it's sort of taupe camel
Yes.
that goes all the way down to the boot. Love that. So chic, so elegant. Yeah, and also the love montage. I think the first time we hear all the time in the world,
Yep.
where we get this montage of Tracy and James falling in love,
Over
and
2 weeks.
we cycle through so many outfits in that section. And every one of them is a 10 out of 10. Like, just gorgeous, like, Poochie dresses and some really, like, spectacular, like, she's wearing this really glam, glitzy blouse that would look terrible on a lot of people, I feel
Yeah.
like. But on her looks impeccable.
Yep.
Yeah,
Her,
incredible fashion.
even her wedding dress is.
Mm,
I read someone describe it as scandalous by today's standards, and we don't even get to see it full on, but there's stills of it, and it's basically like a pantsuit. It's really fashion forward for a wedding dress. I
yeah,
hope that you're flashing it on the screen right now so everyone can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, it is not like she is not your typical bride, and that's what this statement is.
it's what I intend to wear when Jonathan Bailey finally pops the question.
We're counting down the days.
It's a really long countdown.
99, 9,998.
I mean, if Connor Story asks first, what can I do? Johnny will miss his chance.
Oh my God, is Johnny Bailey being edged out by Connor's story? And also, have I typed that phrase somewhere recently?
Speaking of the Winter Olympics, which are very well represented in this movie, like when I came to write down the list of events that are in this movie, I'm like, "Oh,
Oh,
that's a
curling's
lot.
in it.
That's
Yeah,
most of the events." You know, Bond invents snowboarding in this movie,
again,
kinda.
for the first time.
Yeah, we have Olympic rings on Gunther's. The henchman Gunther is wearing like volcanic orange jacket with the Olympic rings. And the IOC is very litigious about how those rings are used. And I wonder if that was just not true at the time. And they were like, yeah, no, an evil henchman wearing Olympic rings is fine. Or did they get sign off?
I mean, I have to imagine that A, they were less litigious, and that's a one, not an A. B, they there must have been an Olympic Games happening around this time, right? That's in my
There's
mind.
no way to know for sure, but you must be right.
Unfortunately, all the records were destroyed. And C, you have to imagine that they would be happy for the representation in a Bond film no matter what. Like we've had Bond at the
I
Olympics
mean,
before. Maybe they just didn't realize the context in which it would be used, and it was a different time.
like, if you could choose anyone in this movie to represent the Olympics, I feel like Gunther is low down on the
Yeah.
list. Like,
I know
Irma
Irma
would be
Bunt
my
on
choice
the
before.
bobsleigh.
I mean, she could be an excellent. I was going to say she could be an excellent curler. I think she probably is. They do curling in
They
this
do
film.
curling. Yeah, I don't know why I chose bobsleigh for her and not curling. Hard, hard, sweet, sweet.
We didn't talk about Irma in the women's section,
We
which was
did
a
not.
terrible oversight. Because Ilsa
Yeah.
Steppert is a phenomenal in this movie. And talking about her in the fashion section feels wrong. Maybe we could talk about her in the queerness section? I mean...
Well, speaking of, let's talk about the queerness of this film.
have we exhausted all of the fashion before we get to that? I mean, we haven't really.
That's the thing, right? We could just do an entire episode on the fashion of this film. I
Yeah.
think it is safe to say this is the most fashionable Bond.
I do have a question for you. Piz Gloria is one of those destinations, like Bond fans go to Piz Gloria a lot. Is it the number one Bond destination? Because for me, I think it might be. Like there's the Smokestack Mountains in the South China Seas from Man with the Golden Gun. Jamaica from every third Bond film. Those are the other two that I think come to mind. But this is maybe my favorite.
Yeah, I think in terms of like a specific place and not just a like an area of the world.
Right.
I think that ski lodge, that chalet, sorry, has got to be it. That is, and there's no separating it, I think, as a Bond location in real life. Like no one goes there because well, that looks cool. People are going there because they recognize it.
Yeah, and I think the location has like a Bond museum and all this
It
stuff.
does.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure you can get a steak Piz Gloria at the restaurant.
Oh, I wonder what I mean, God, nine cuisine. I can't imagine the steak peas Gloria was anything other than dreadful.
Probably not. But I'll take it over a cloche full of bananas, you know, if that's the other option.
Would you like some banana on rice? Spoon that onto your naan bread. And a side of chicken. Horrible.
All right, you may lead us on. I'm done talking about fashion.
Okay. We are
For
going to
now.
talk about, for now, don't threaten us with a good time. We're going to talk about the queerness. And let's start with Irma Bunt, who is queer coded like no other than maybe Rosa Gleb.
Rosa Klebb.
Yeah.
Who is the other, like the closest reference in the Bond canon? Like these two women, these two short, butch, deadly women who are absolutely unfussy and no nonsense, do stand shoulder to shoulder and are both
And what
favorite
shoulders?
characters. Like, I love Irma Bunt. I mean, in the books, she is Blofeld's lover.
Mm-hmm.
She's Mrs. Blofeld, I think, by the time of You Only Live Twice.
Yeah.
Although going by a different name, she's Mrs. Shatterhand, I suppose. You Only Live Twice.
Yeah. What a name. But even then, I feel like even in the books, that's a marriage of convenience because they're both described as slightly queer characters in the first place. Like not they're very agendered people in those novels. And I feel like that kind of carries through in the film. Irma is a blunt, not bunt, object, one might say.
And she's the den mother to all these beautiful, lithe women. So that's
Hmm.
a very sapphic detail. The fact that she is
Hmm.
barking orders at these women and telling them, "Do not sleep with that man." That's all very. It's barely coded at that point.
Yeah, very true. On top of that, I mean, this has got to be the most explicit queer character in the form of Bond doing Hilary Bray drag for a good section of the film, where everyone
Yeah.
comments on the fact that he does not like women.
Yes. Bond is pretending to be a gay man and is doing a good job and also a terrible job
Well, yeah, yeah.
because he does sleep with at least two
Three
women,
women.
maybe four or 10.
Does he sleep with all of them? Is the real question. And
It's
honestly,
it's not clear, but
I know a bunch of gay men who've done the same. Sometimes you have something to prove.
fair, fair. Yeah, the great line is from Ruby, "You are funny pretending to not like girls."
Well, I
To which
don't
she replies, "Well, I
usually,
don't usually, but you're
but you're
not
quite
usual."
unusual.
Quite boyish,
Yeah. She's got a boyish
which
behind.
she is actually, but
Yeah.
he then goes on to sleep with the like Slovenian woman. I don't know what she is, but she's very much not boyish.
So yeah, I mean, God, I wonder how much research he did for the role. He's so deep undercover in this film. You have to imagine he asked for a few pointers. And if we skip forward to Skyfall, well, it sounds like he got quite a few pointers because we know it's not his first time.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, was he the pointer or the pointee? Who knows? Probably a bit of both. And yet we do meet the man that he's pretending to be, Hilary Bray, aka Sable Basilisk, who we know from the books is quite queer in the
Yes.
books as well, and is less obviously queer. Like they don't go to great lengths to tell us that the real Hilary Bray is gay, but A, we know he must be because that's how Bond plays him, and B, when he hands over his identity to Bond, he says, "I've arranged to lose myself among the churches of Brittany." And that's the faggiest thing anyone's ever said. And have I been to the Church of Brittany? Yes, I have, with my mother. So now
Oh,
that's the gayest thing anyone's ever said.
okay, yeah, that's true. Don't bring your mother while you're cottaging. Just wait outside. I'll be right there. Don't open the door.
The only thing we were rubbing was the brasses, darling. So
I really like this bus. So yeah, it's got some queerness in there.
I think it does. I think it does. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we've discussed the queerness of Bond in the past, and maybe we should have that conversation again in the video format. But yes, this is up there with Diamonds Are Forever in terms of like the A gay Bond movies, the ones that really put it in the text.
The whole reason that you and I started doing this whole thing is because of the explicitness of it in this text. It was this movie that we first watched
Yes.
and said, and we expressed our ideas of how there is a queer reading of James Bond. And that's what brought all of this to life. And I
Yeah.
love that we saved this bit for the last today. Let let's film. We've talked about it for an hour. It has to. As you know, we always rate the movie between 1 and 5, just in terms of our enjoyment of it, and then we give bonus points for the categories we just discussed: women, boys, music, fashion, queerness. We are allowed to apply a penalty if there's something particularly egregious, but we're gonna start with our score. Andrew, what do you think of this film?
I think this film is one of the absolute top tier Bond films, and that means it has to get a 5 from me.
This is one of the greatest spy films of all time and one of the great action films of all time. This is a 5 for me as well. And then are the women going to get a bonus point? Now, there aren't many of them, but consider the quality.
Well, there are many of them, but
Okay, that's
they're all huddled together in one
yeah.
location and sharing one sort of
Motley.
characterization. Yeah. But the fact that we have Dame Diana Rigg and Dame Joanna Lumley in this film,
And Dame
the
Ilsa
big
Steppert.
parts are
Hello.
the big parts are amazing, the small parts are amazing. Angela Scolar as Ruby Bartlett, Ilsa Steppert as Irma Bunt. These are characters I adore. I have to give it the point. All of those women are special to me.
Yeah, absolutely. These are some of the great Bond ladies, Bond women of our time. It gets the point for me too.
And then the boy,
The
poor
boy.
boys.
I mean, one could argue that there aren't enough boys in this film.
I would say that's true. I think there's a hot bellhop at one point in just a background.
Yeah, yeah. There's
Not enough
that
to get the point.
there's Bond's secret double guy who's working with him in the Alps. I can't remember his name. He's kind
The
of cute.
blonde,
The
yeah.
blonde. I don't know. Does James Bond get the boys' point? That's the real question.
I think in recognition of George Lazenby's achievement as a one-time Bond who is maligned but actually is awesome, and in recognition of that waist to shoulder ratio, I'm giving him the point.
I think you're 100% right. I'm totally in agreement with that. He's getting the point.
I feel like I
Music.
know where this is going, Shane. Music, yes.
Like, this is one of the soundtracks that I listen to on a regular basis. I have to give it the point, even with the Christmas song. I skip past that.
Yes, the Nina and the Children's Choir are not going to get the point, but Louis Armstrong, I mean, that's not just
The
a
last
great
song he
Bond song,
recorded
it's a
before he
great
died.
movie song.
Yeah, it is. And
But yeah, that's so sad. Last Louis Armstrong song, last Elsa Steppert role, I think.
wow, this movie was
A lot
cursed.
was lost.
Yeah. Uh, and then, I mean, you know that we have to give it the fashion point.
If I could give it two, I would, but I can't. But it gets one.
And guess what? Queerness is a part of the text. I'm not going to take that away from this film. I have to give it the
James
point.
Bond is gay for pay in this movie, and I'm down for it, you know?
God, who hasn't watched Game for Pay?
So this looks like a perfect movie, Shane, but there is the opportunity to apply a penalty. And this film is, I mean, there is misogyny, there is racism, and there's homophobia, basically. I mean, realistically, the way people
Yeah.
disdain Hilary Bray is inherently homophobic. What
We
do we
don't give
say?
out this penalty often.
No, because we're weak.
We are weak. We're weak men. And I hate to do
We're
this, Andrew.
homosexuals.
I think this movie deserves the penalty. For everything we discuss, like this could be a perfect film, but the level of racism and how insidious it is in there, it's not just
Hmm.
like it's not I'm not gonna it's like light racism. No, it is full on the images and caricatures of people that have been perpetuated by white people for centuries. It's mind-bogglingly racist. And also, Bond meets Teresa and he slaps her across the face. And Rocco pimps out his own daughter as leverage. Like, it's crazy. I have to give it the penalty.
And there's one other thing I think that makes it deserving of the penalty, and that is the fact that Tracy dies. The fact that we have this incredible, complex woman, and she is sacrificed in the closing seconds of the movie just to give James Bond that pain. You know, artistically, I can appreciate it. In terms of the franchise's survival, it's even maybe necessary. But how frustrating to have a character this beautifully realized and then have her disposed of so cruelly. It's not like the 60s was ripe with strong, complicated roles for women. So, yeah, I think that's a fair reason to
Yeah,
deduct a point.
but look, if I was going to show anyone a Bond film and say, this is why I love these films. I might start here. And I would have those caveats in there, like, look, this is of its time and it perpetuates a lot of things that we don't see anymore in filmmaking, but it is great. It is a fantastic film.
Yeah.
It's so hard to have both of those things in the same piece, but I'm complex. I'm complicated. What can I say?
And in fact, proof of the pudding is in the tasting, because we did in fact use this film back during COVID, back before we started having a podcast. This was the film that we chose to share with our friends for a remote watch party before any other Bond film. So yeah, we stand by using this one to introduce people to Bond.
Well, that gives us a 9 out of 10, and I think that makes perfect sense for who we are as
Yeah.
people, Andrew.
It's a very respectable score.
Yeah, maybe too respectable. Oh, well, if you enjoyed us talking about this, then maybe enjoy us talking about a bunch of other nonsense. You can check out all of our traders coverage and a lot of other campy films, a lot of other 60s films. Check out Danger Diabolique. That's another great film.
Yeah.
Please don't forget to click the like button and and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. It really helps. Thank you so much for watching. As always, kiss, kiss.
Bang, bang.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBBpod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.